What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. I want to talk a little bit about the Seahawks secondary today. I want to talk a little bit about the defensive backs in Seattle because there are quite a few of them, and the ones we have are pretty notable. We got some really good ones in here. People are really excited about a lot of these guys, and we're so good here, there might be a little bit of an interesting opportunity presenting itself. So let's discuss how we might make everything come together in this secondary in terms of the roster, right? Obviously, we could spend a lot of time talking about schemes. We could spend a lot of time talking about how these guys work together in the defensive backfield. But I want to talk about just the roster because decisions are about to be made, right? We are a couple weeks away from the big cut down where we get down to 53 players. Obviously, some of those guys you let go come back on the practice squad, but a lot of them don't. So we got to figure this out. And what I'm trying to figure out here is what strategy should the Seahawks utilize for a position that they seem to have a little bit of an embarrassment of riches at, and might even have what you might refer to as a logjam. Before I get into the body of this video, though, I hope you like it. If you do, please click the thumbs up button down below. It helps the channel out a lot. Subscribe if you're new and you want daily Seahawks content. Click the bell for notifications. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to support Seahawks Brendan Nelson. All right, so let's talk a little bit about these cornerbacks and safeties. So first of all, we got to ask ourselves, do we think the Seahawks are going to compete for winning the Super Bowl this year? If the answer is yes, then I kind of feel like you don't worry about being too deep at a position. If you think the team is going to try to win it all this year, and obviously every team is trying to win it all, but they're actually loading up the cannon and this is the year they're going to just go all out, then obviously you wouldn't really want to trade at a position of depth. You'd want to keep that depth because you want to protect yourself as much as possible, and you don't want an injury to derail what is your big make or break season. So if you think this Seahawks team is a realistic Super Bowl contender right now, you probably don't want to do anything here. You probably are very happy with the way things are in the defensive secondary. But if you don't think this is the Super Bowl year, and that's kind of the side of things that I tend to fall on, I tend to suspect that this is going to be a good year, better than a lot of people expected. I think we are a little ahead of schedule, but as for this being a team that wins the Super Bowl, I'm just not there yet. Rookie head coaches typically don't win Super Bowls, so I'm kind of on that side of that argument. And if that's the case, you can look at a situation like this where you have a lot of young talent in a particular area, you have a lot of things going on, and you only have so many opportunities to get these guys on the field, and you wonder, would we rather have a future asset than a current asset? So let's start with cornerback here. Let's talk about these cornerbacks. And obviously, this is just my projection for how the roster is going to shake out as of right now. There's certainly a scenario where things are a little bit different, but let's take a look at this. So Devin Witherspoon needs no introduction. Might be the best player on the team. So he's obviously here. Nothing's happening there. Woolen had a monster training camp. Played really well 2 years ago. Still played okay last year. Some problems, but clearly a guy we want to be starting right now. Mike Jackson, backing him up. Solid player. I know some people beat up on him a little bit, but he's a player who can help you win. He's a good tackler for a cornerback. And I'm thinking about 2022 when he was starting for most of the year opposite Reek Woolen. It wasn't great or anything, but he held his own, and it was a hard job. Being across from Reek Woolen is hard because people don't want to throw his way. Got Tre Brown, last year of a rookie deal. Played well last year when he got on the field, has played well in general when he's gotten on the field. That's another guy who can help you win. He does give up some stuff. He is small, not a great tackler, not a great run defender, but he brings things to the table that we don't see from even our better cornerbacks on this team. Like, there are some things he does that I don't even think Witherspoon does as well. And then you've got DJ James, rookie, some promise, and Nehemiah Pritchett, rookie, some promise. So I'm looking at these 6 guys and I'm thinking, I don't really want any of these guys to go anywhere, right? You've got 2 guys who are rookies. You've got a guy who's a second-year superstar. You've got a guy who is a third-year potential superstar because we've seen him play at that high level before. And then you've got two guys who have proven themselves as being at least more good than bad in extensive opportunities to play in the previous few years. So not really looking to move on from either of those guys in terms of, oh, I don't think they're good. Like, I'm not looking at Mike Jackson and going, oh, that guy's no good, get him out of here. I'm thinking that guy is too good. Maybe we need to get him out of here because we could get something else. But those are the corners. And then you got the safeties. You got Julian Love, starter. We just paid him, not going anywhere. Rayshon Jenkins, we paid him in the offseason too, not going anywhere. Starting quality safeties. Kayvon Wallace had a really good camp so far. So good that some people are saying, hey, look out for the 3 safety sets. Look out for the Seahawks to go Love, Jenkins, Wallace surprisingly often in 2024. And then Kobe Bryant, who is moving from corner, and you got to say so far, he looks pretty good at it. That's 10 defensive backs. That's 10 defensive backs. So you're already kind of pushing it. You don't have to worry so much about James and Pritchett. They're rookies. If they don't play this year, then that's fine. But if you're talking about going 3 safeties a lot because Kayvon Wallace is looking so good, you need to get him out there, that takes away from the reps that a guy like a Mike Jackson is going to get or a Tre Brown is going to get, right? And don't forget, by the way, Kobe Bryant can play corner. He's done it before. He played corner in college. He played corner his first 2 years here. So you kind of have him as a break glass in case of emergency option. By the way, look at who didn't make the team in my depth chart projection. D. Williams, now that one's kind of whatever. Carlton Johnson, who has had a good camp. A lot of positive things about Carlton Johnson, but okay. Artie Burns. Solid veteran. Good soldier. Plays inside, plays outside, brings a lot of stuff to the table. Clearly a capable NFL player that I just can't find any room for on this team. So we're looking at this situation here where the Seahawks are almost certainly going to have to let go of a good and valuable player because there's just no room for him because they're a little too deep here. By the way, Marquise Blair, now, he's missed so much time lately, I'm not going to pretend like he's a valuable asset or anything, but there's certainly a universe where the Seahawks have had a look at Marquise Blair over these last couple weeks, and they're like, yeah, that's a 53-man caliber player. I'm not ruling it out. So keep that in mind as well, but we're mostly going to focus on Artie Burns here. So here's my question. You're not trading Witherspoon, you're not trading Woolen. Doesn't make any sense to trade DJ James. Doesn't make any sense to trade Nehemiah Pritchett. You're not going to get anything. And Artie Burns, while he is a pretty good player, I don't think he has trade value, especially not on this team when everybody knows that we have a logjam at corner. So here's the scoop. If you want to keep Artie Burns around, then the play is you trade one of these two guys, Mike Jackson or Tre Brown. You get some kind of draft capital back, and then Artie Burns becomes your 6th corner. Or, actually, in this sense, he would become your 4th corner, because James and Pritchett would obviously be behind him, because Burns is the veteran. And then you've got a guy who you know can play inside and outside adequately, because he's done it for some time in the NFL. And you're still good, but now, instead of a player who you knew you weren't going to be able to play very much this year, and what is going to be a very important year for those guys, you have a little bit of draft capital. Because understand that both Jackson and Brown are going to be very hungry for playing time this year because they are playing for that next contract. Jackson is, we tendered him. So he's a free agent next year. I think for the first time in his career, he is a complete free agent, can sign anywhere. He's played well at points in his career, and he's probably thinking, I should be getting something next offseason, and if I play well in 2024, I can make that money. I can get a non-trivial contract. But he's got to play, right? Because he didn't play that much last year. So if he goes into the offseason with 2 straight years of barely playing, going to be hard to get paid. Tre Brown, going to be a free agent. This is the last year of his rookie deal. This is year number 4 for him. Unless the year he was injured all year didn't count as an accredited year, which I'm pretty sure it did, because he did get hurt playing football. So I'm pretty sure it counts, and I'm pretty sure he's a free agent next year. So that's another guy who you're not going to be able to keep him realistically, right? Unless he's so cheap because he doesn't play. And why would you want to keep him around if he's not going to play if he has value right now? Because generally speaking, when Tre Brown has gotten out there, he's looked pretty good. Yeah, there are limitations, but good player. So, does it make sense to make the trade? You don't get worse, really, because Artie Burns steps right in, right? This is not necessarily a situation where you take a big step down. You're not forcing an unprepared rookie into that fourth corner role. You're just bumping up Artie Burns. And I think that Jackson and Brown have a little more sauce than Artie Burns personally. They're younger. They've shown a little bit more upside if I had to put a label on it. But you're not losing a lot there. Those guys just have trade value a little bit because they're younger. Artie Burns has been in the league a while now, and he's been around this league for a little bit, so I don't think he has trade value. Jackson and Brown do. Now, what is their trade value? Maybe a 6th round pick, right? It's not much, but it's better than nothing. And if you let these guys hang out on your roster and collect cobwebs all year, and they go somewhere else in the upcoming offseason, because you don't really have room or money for them, because, by the way, the books are pretty packed to the brim in 2025. Just going to say it, not a lot of room for free agents next year, not going to be a lot of money to sign these guys, then you will have truly gotten nothing out of them. So that 6th round pick, still better than nothing. So, would you make a move like that? Keeping in mind, again, that the strong possibility of a lot of 3 safety sets is there, which will diminish the amount you need to get from your cornerback depth room since they're on the field less. Of course, there's another side to this as well, right? If Jackson and/or Tre Brown end up getting free agent contracts next year, those free agent contracts might be of a sufficient amount to get the Seahawks a compensatory pick that is as good, maybe even potentially better than the compensatory pick the pick they get via trade. So that would be the thing, right? Like, you're looking at a guy like Mike Jackson. You want to trade him. You trade him for a 6th round pick. That's one timeline. Other timeline is you keep him. He plays a little bit this year. He does pretty well. And some team gives him like 2 years, $7 million or $8 million next offseason, like, I don't know, the Falcons or the Vikings or somebody like that. Could be any team. And the Seahawks get the 6th round pick as a compensatory selection anyway. Only difference is it would be 1 year later, but who really cares about that at that point? So there is definitely a scenario where you still get a little bit of compensation out of it. And the other angle is money. Mike Jackson, I think his tender this year was like $3.1 million. You don't pay him a thing if you trade him. The other team takes on that tender. So you trade Mike Jackson, you're freeing up $3.1 million, which could roll over to next year or allow you to go do something else now. Now, Tre Brown, there's not a lot of money, admittedly, right? Tre Brown making a lot less than $3.1 million this year. You save probably not even $1 million, probably close to $1 million on the cap if you trade him. But it's still something. And maybe Tre Brown is the guy you could get like a 5th round pick for. I don't know. Hard to know what player value is sometimes. And there are some things that Tre Brown does really impressively. So I've seen stranger things happen before. But it's more of a general question that, like, now you're getting really into the weeds on this question. The general starting point of this question is, do you want to slightly, and I do mean slightly, but slightly diminish the talent level and potential of this team in one area of strength to make sure you get at least something of an asset for a player who pretty clearly looks like he's not going to be here next year, right? Like, I don't see how Jackson or Brown is here in 2025. We drafted 2 rookie corners. We've got Witherspoon and Woolen on the team. We've got enough going on in that place, in that position, without Jackson or Brown. And I like both those guys well enough, but, I mean, Witherspoon, is he going to get a $120 million contract in a couple years? Is Woolen, if he has a big year, is he going to want $100 million? Not a lot of money to go around here. We're going to have to make a tough decision there anyway, probably. All right, let me know what you think. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Would you try to move one of those two corners?